Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about the exercises on dividends and stock repurchases. We will discuss the answers and the solution to the questions. So for our first exercise, Ace Hardware has a target capital structure that consists of 70% debt and 30% equity. The company anticipates that its capital budget for the upcoming year will be 3 million pesos. If ACE reports a net income of 2 million pesos and it follows a residual dividend payout policy, what will be its dividend payout ratio? So if we are going to utilize the residual dividend model, we need to make sure first that the equity component of the financing of a capital budget is first satisfied before dividends will be declared. So the dividend is a residual amount, hence the name. Dividends is equal to profit minus the equity finance portion of the capital budget. That's capital budget times the equity ratio. Dividends is therefore equal to 2 million pesos less 30% of 3 million pesos. You would have 1.1 million pesos. Hence, the dividend payout ratio will be equal to 1.1 million divided by 2 million pesos. You would have 55%. In other words, 55% of the net income is expected to be declared as dividends. Again, under the residual dividend model, dividends will only be declared if there is sufficient amount of earnings that can be used for financing. Any excess will be declared as dividends. Exercise 2. This is about stock splits. Gateway Corporation stock trade at 90 pesos a share. The company is contemplating a 3-4-2 stock split. Assuming the stock split will have no effect on the market value of its equity, what will be the company's stock price following the stock split? So for a 3-4-2 stock split, the company will take back every shares. For every 2 shares taken back, 3 will be given to the stockholders. So when we would like to arrive at the new stock price expected after the stock split, we would multiply this by how many shares were taken and divide it by how many shares would be given. That is times 2 over 3. So the new stock price would be equal to 90 times 2 over 3. This is equal to 60 pesos. Assuming that there will be no effect on the market value of the equity, the new stock price is expected to be 60 pesos. So let us have an example here. Say that there are 1,000 shares outstanding. So the stock price used to be 90 pesos, and assuming there's 1,000 shares outstanding, the market capitalization or equity value will be 90,000 pesos. Next, we will multiply the number of shares outstanding by 3 over 2, considering that for every 2 shares taken back by the company, 3 will be given to the stockholders. The new number of shares outstanding will be 1,500. Again, this is not a real change in the company's value. There is nothing really new except for just the number of shares outstanding. Hence, the market capitalization is expected to be 90,000 still. So, 90,000 divided by 1.5, the new stock price is 60 pesos. Or, the shorter way of doing this is just by multiplying the stock price original by 2 over 3. The reciprocal of 3 over 2. Again, that's 90 times 2 over 3, 60 pesos. So there you go. That is the impact of the stock split. The market cap or equity value as is, but the stock price will adjust accordingly owing to the fact that there are now more shares outstanding. The reverse would be true if this is a reverse stock split. Next exercise, this is about stock dividends. Eaton House stock trade at 90 pesos a share. The company is contemplating a 150% stock dividend. Assuming the stock dividend will have no effect on the market value of its equity, what will be the company's stock price following the stock dividend? Okay, so this is a 150% stock dividend. So the new stock price will be equal to the old stock price divided by 1 plus the stock dividend rate. In this case, it's 150%, hence 1.5. Again, that's 1 plus 1.5. The new stock price will therefore be 90 divided by 1 plus 1.5, which is 2.5. You would have 36 pesos as your new stock price. So after a 150% stock dividend, the new stock price would be 36 pesos. So again, let's say for example that there are 1,000 shares outstanding. So the original stock price again is 90 pesos times 1,000 shares outstanding. Market cap is 90,000 pesos. Now, in a 150% stock dividend, the company will be giving an additional 150% of stocks to the existing shareholders with no other real change in the company. So, your new number of shares outstanding would be 1,000 times 1 plus 1.5. You would have 2,500. Again, no real change in the company. The equity value is still expected to be 90,000. 90,000 over 2,500, it is expected that the new stock price would be 36 pesos. Or, we simply have to divide the original stock price by 1 plus the stock dividend rate. In this case, 1.5. That would be the shorter way. So again, the new stock price after the stock dividend is expected to be 36 pesos. Next, exercise 4. Bone Industries has net income of 2 million pesos and it has 1 million shares of common stock outstanding. The company's stock currently trades at 32 pesos a share. Bone is considering a plan in which it will use available cash to repurchase 20% of its shares in the open market. The repurchase is expected to have no effect on net income. What will be Bone's EPS following the repurchase? The original earnings per share is simply net income over the number of shares outstanding. 2 million divided by 1 million shares. That's 2 pesos per share. The new earnings per share is simply 2 million over the new number of shares outstanding. Now, if the company will take back 20% of its shares in the open market, 20% of 1 million is 200,000. That would leave 800,000 shares outstanding. Hence, the new EPS will therefore be 250 per share. What will be the consequence of a stock repurchase? A stock repurchase is another way of releasing cash to the stockholders without the use of a dividend declaration. Without declaring and distributing dividends, the company will be able to distribute cash. The accounting entry is simply debit treasury shares and credit cash. Now, when the company's PE ratio is not expected to change, let's calculate the PE ratio. Originally, it was 32 pesos over 2. That is 16 times. We would expect an increase in the stock price owing to the lower number of shares outstanding. Again, assuming that the PE ratio is not going to change, the share price will be equal to, of course, PE ratio times EPS. That would be 16 times the new earnings per share of 250. We are expecting a share price of 40 pesos. So if we are going to be asked what is the expected stock price, assuming that the PE ratio is not going to substantially change, then we would go for 40 pesos per share. That is if we are going to be asked. Next, exercise 5 in 2011, Keenan Company paid dividends totaling 3.6 million pesos on net income of 10.8 million pesos. Note that 2011 was a normal year and that for the past 10 years, earnings have grown at a constant rate of 10%. However, in 2012, earnings are expected to jump to 14.4 million, and the firm expects to have profitable investment opportunities of 8.4 million pesos. It is predicted that Keenan will not be able to maintain the 2012 level of earnings growth because the high 2011 earnings level is attributable to an exceptionally profitable new product line introduced that year. After 2012, the company will return to its previous 10% growth rate. Keenan's target capital structure is 40% debt and 60% equity. Now, for our first requirements, calculate Keenan's total dividends for 2012, assuming that it follows each of the following policies. A. Its 2012 dividend payment is set to force dividends to grow at the long run growth rate in earnings, that is 10%. 2. It continues the 2011 dividend payout ratio, that's B. C. It uses a pure residual dividend policy. And D. It employs a regular dividend plus extras policy, with the regular dividend being based on the long run growth rate and the extra dividend being set according to the residual dividend policy. Then the second requirement, which of the preceding policies would you recommend? So let us go one by one each requirement. So for the first requirements, 1A, the dividend is set to force to grow at a constant growth rate of 10%. The new dividends will be equal to the original dividends, multiply it by 1 plus the growth rate. The original dividends amount to 3.6 million pesos. Multiply this by 1 plus 10%. 3.6 million times 1.10. That would give you 3.96 million pesos. Under requirement A, 1A, the dividends will be 3,960,000 pesos. 1B, let's go to 1B. This time, it would follow the same payout ratio as in the last year. The dividend payout ratio in the previous year was 3.6 million over 10.8 million. 33.33% of the net income was declared as dividends. If we would follow the same payout ratio this year, the new earnings is profit, okay, profit sub N, times the same dividend payout ratio. That's the new earnings is 14.4 million. Multiply it by 33.333%. Your dividends will be 4.8 million pesos. That is under the second requirement with a constant dividend payout ratio, 4.8 million pesos. In requirement 1C, the dividends will be set using a residual dividend model where profit will be used for capital expansion first, the equity portion, and any excess will be declared as dividends. So, dividends sub N, that's the new dividends, will be equal to the profit, 14.4 million, less the equity component of the capital budget, 8.4 million times 60%. So the new dividends will be equal to 9.36 million pesos. The remaining funds after utilizing the amount needed for capital expansion is 9,360,000 pesos. So we call this the pure residual dividend model. Requirement 1 dog calls for a residual dividend model with a regular dividend based on the long-term trends, while the special dividend will be any excess. So under this system, the dividends will still total to 9.36 million. However, we're going to make a category. The regular component, which is based on the long run growth rate of 10%, 3.96 million pesos. And the remainder will be will be labeled as a special dividend, 5.4 million pesos. Now, under requirement 2, which of these are we going to recommend? Theoretically speaking, it is more desirable for us to use the residual dividend model, and hence we should declare 9.36 million. However, so that the investors in the future will not create an expectation that such growth in dividends will persist, we should make proper, we should make a disclosure as to what is regular and what is special. Hence, letter dog will be the best recommendation we can give to management. It follows the strength of the residual dividend policy. We will declare what is excessive. However, we will not create the expectation that such increase in dividends is going to happen in the long run. Okay, so that will be it for our answers to the exercises. Like this video if you find this helpful. Hit that notification bell to be updated for future videos.